and welcome to episode 21 of 21.
Legal drinking age in the United States.
It is. We're legally allowed to drink on this podcast now.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yep.
cheers
in
for
the United
that.
States.
Cheers for 21 episodes.
Yes, 21 episodes. Insane. And obviously, for our 20th episode, if you haven't watched that, we did a little bit of sort of looking back at very early stuff that we've done. And that sort of stuff. And if you haven't looked at some of our earlier stuff, I thoroughly encourage you to do so, just so you can see how much things have changed as we've gone on and we've done stuff. And we have a few interesting and exciting things in the pipeline to continue to grow and evolve. So with that in mind, if you do have ideas for how we can grow and evolve and that sort of stuff with things that you'd like to see, hit us up on the Discord or any of our other social media stuff and let us know. Because obviously at the end of the day, that's what we do this for. We do this for you guys and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So, beer of the week. Beer of the week this week. We've gone back to Stoke Brewery because we quite like Stoke Brewery.
We do. They're a safe choice for us.
They are. I haven't had something I've disliked from Stoke yet. It's been really good. So we're drinking the Stoke Amber Big Malt Kiwi Ale. I saw this as we're going through. So we moved away from some of the hoppier stuff that we've done recently, like some of the IPAs.
Yeah. We're not brave enough.
We're not brave enough, and we've gone into a bit more of a multi thing. So how are you feeling about the?
I'm actually really enjoying it. It's sort of it's not too heavy. I think it's a nice balance. There's actually a lot of different flavors going on in there, which is really good. But no, I'm really enjoying it. It's quite a nice one just to sip away at. And
it's a very drinkable beer. It's a very sort of I could see myself on a hot summer afternoon drinking this beer, or conversely, like we are here, where it's freezing cold, here in Esoterica HQ. I can still, it's still a very drinkable beer.
Definitely.
So on the only scale that matters, Anthony, what are you going to give the Stoke Amber?
I think it's 7.5.
A 7.5, yeah. I'm actually going to go higher. I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to go a good 8.5, 8.5. Yeah. I'm really enjoying this beer, and have really enjoyed everything that we've had from Stoke so far. So thank you very much, Stoke Breweries. Keep doing the good things that you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're always open to free beer.
Bribes.
Yeah. So, moving right along into what's on top, and I think it's going to be relatively sort of obvious to everybody what what's on top this week is going to be, with everything that's been in the news and stuff that, and funnily enough, actually, before this started in the news, this was something that we were talking about anyway, talking about doing, and came after Christchurch, has come after lots of different things all over the place. But the idea of freedom of speech in places, especially I suppose on places like the internet, on social media platforms, on all of those kinds of things, and how much the government or governments, because obviously the World Wide Web is legitimately worldwide.
Oh, it's autonomous.
So sort of laws that are passed in other countries affect you in everywhere. How much governments and things like that should
the
weigh in.
They can have.
And how much maybe they should weigh in or should not weigh in. How much control they should exert over what you can say.
So I guess the umbrella conversation is censorship on the internet.
Yeah.
Is basically what we're going to talk about today.
Or I suppose censorship in general. Because you were talking to me about something quite interesting that I sort of wasn't really aware of at the time. You were talking about potential law changes in New Zealand, weren't you? Potential law changes in New Zealand around what? So do you want to give us a sort of a little bit of an overview of that?
Recently, the New Zealand government criticised Facebook, and I think that's legitimate. And in fact, the words that were used were very strong.
This was for live streaming, wasn't it? Live streaming
live streaming. So it's come from the live streaming of the Christchurch attacks.
Yeah.
And the New Zealand government called Mark Zuckerberg. They actually were really they didn't hold back, and what they said wasn't actually necessarily wrong. Facebook does have a lack of accountability. We all know that.
Well, they basically go, what you post, not really our problem. Like
Absolutely,
we provide a platform. We don't necessarily, sort of hands-off approach to what you post on
which
there.
I think is negligent in its own way. But, however, the narrative was spun that the anti-Facebook rhetoric, which is alive and well and in many ways very much justified, was used as an excuse to attack, I guess, the platform of Facebook, whilst, in my mind, somewhat maliciously disguising what the New Zealand government want to do. So the end goal for the NZ government is to, in this case, block live streaming on Facebook.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So basically filter content. And if that doesn't cause reason for raising eyebrows, then I don't know what does. Because whilst I do believe Facebook should be more accountable for the content that's posted, I just want to point out as well, before we move on, one of the biggest things is that why that's discussed, and it's very legitimate, is why wasn't the live stream taken down earlier?
Yeah.
And that's completely legitimate. And Facebook have come back and said, look, and they were fairly honest about this, which is something that they don't do often, but they were fairly transparent and said, look, the problem we have with our algorithms, so the algorithms are really good at picking up things like porn.
Yeah.
Because things like porn are actually very easy to pick up.
Yeah.
Due to patterns and colour palettes and things. And the problem with things like what happened in Christchurch was that they bear a striking resemblance to video game streaming.
Yeah.
So things like, I think they cited things like Counter-Strike and things.
Yeah.
And so, and they cited how many live streams get uploaded daily. And
so just
weekly.
sheer quantity
and
of...
sheer quantity is
of content.
enormous. And we're not talking, it's unrealistic to expect a team, even a large team, even a team of 1,000 people, I think in context, combing over literally billions and billions of minutes worth of live streaming. And so the issue that you have then is, so first of all, you have a few problems. The first problem is that Facebook don't have a realistic way yet. AI hasn't developed to the point yet where it can accurately pinpoint everything that's bad in terms of live streaming. We don't have a solution to that yet. So you have a situation where Facebook have released something that they can't properly monitor or control. The other issue you have with this is that then the New Zealand government have gone, okay, so they've sort of gone, okay, well, that all aside, it's, too bad. If you can't control that, then we'll block it. Now, as you will know, the internet, the last few years especially, has undergone a bit of a change in terms of censorship. Recently, Great Britain put forward the law. They're having trouble actually enacting it because of the complexities of this law, but they've the UK have actually put a filter or a block on porn. So, and it's just recently come into action. Unfortunately, they're having issues with it, surprise, surprise, because it will block things that aren't porn and all that kind of thing. And also there's the whole issue of course, freedom of information, but their way around it is saying you can call up your internet provider and get the block lifted. Okay, well, can you imagine that phone call to your internet provider?
So their idea is that nobody's going to call their internet provider being like, hey, look, can you unblock the porn sites on my internet?
Exactly, yeah. And this is to protect children. Again, this is an assumption by the government that parents cannot sufficiently, and to be fair, to a certain point, this is probably true, parents cannot sufficiently monitor their children well enough that they can be trusted to block this information from hitting kids. So there has to be a point where you sit back and go, okay, hold on a minute, you've skipped a few steps here.
Yeah.
Why isn't the onus on the parents to enable software or simply to perhaps have greater control? And I know that's
So I think you've got a few
it's
issues there. It's a really complicated issue. So I think
issue.
that one of the things I always think is really interesting, that quite often the argument that is used for a lot of these kinds of things is, well, you should be fine with this because if you're doing nothing wrong, you've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, nothing to hide.
Yeah, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to worry about.
Which is incredibly malicious.
Which is always a really dangerous argument.
It's very 1984.
Well, it's that whole idea of if I argue against this, then what you're automatically doing is saying that I'm somebody that's got something to hide.
You're a deviant.
We see the same thing with, airport security checks, that sort of stuff, or any time that the government goes, we're going to encroach on your civil liberties. It's always, the argument, the well-worn trope comes out that, well, if you've got nothing to hide, it won't work. If you're not a bad person, it won't actually affect you. If you're not you see this with things like the Patriot Act in the UK, or the anti-terrorism, in the US, or the Anti-Terrorism Act, and in places like Northern Ireland, that sort of stuff. Oh, well, if you're not, if you've got nothing to hide and you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't be worried about people being able to pick you up and hold you without trial, and all of those kinds of things.
That's right.
Which is not only impeding on your civil liberties, but actually impeding on your human rights.
I mean, if we have to explain to you why that's a bad thing, then we've already lost. They've already won. Like that's
it. And so I'm always really wary whenever that argument is used. I'm always really wary because I'm like, you're handing, and I mean in this case it's a ban on a particular aspect of a program that runs whatever. Okay. I'm always really wary whenever this argument gets brought up, because it opens a doorway. It opens a doorway that I think once you've opened, it's very difficult to close. So we're very good at looking at specific incidences, and I think anybody who's seen any of our podcasts or anything that we've said before, obviously Anthony and I are not supporting or in any way justifying the live streaming of the shooting at Christchurch or anything else like that. However, if you look at things like that, and you look at the billions of hours of content and things like that are put up constantly, it'd be interesting to see as a percentage how much of that is objectionable material. Yeah. So, I suppose it's like anything. You can listen to podcasts where, there's objectionable material. You can watch news programs where there's news in quotation marks programs where there's objectionable content. And I suppose you kind of got to go on the balance. You know what I mean? Like how much harm is actually done by the service itself as distinct from this particular incident. I also think that Facebook handled it relatively poorly in terms of turning around. Instead of turning around and going, Jesus, this is awful, and this is horrific, and we need to look at ways. It is really difficult for us to do this, but we need to look at ways potentially in how we can respond to those kinds of things quicker. They just went,
yeah, hands up.
Hands up. What do you expect us to do? Yeah. So I think
no accountability.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent it's difficult, and this ties in a little bit to me too with there's a law in Australia and where they talk about I think it has to do and like I could be slightly wrong here, but it's the satire law. It's the law that you can't impersonate the government. Or, that sort of stuff, unless it is for genuine. I think in the law it states it's genuine satire. Otherwise, you can face up to 5 years in prison. Now, the problem with that is that the people who decide what genuine satire is, who decides what genuine satire is and isn't?
Well, it's your government. Yeah.
So, you start to open doors in terms of restriction of information. You start to open doors in terms of, government knows best. Government knows best. We're going to, protect you from yourselves. we also know that these kind of things don't generally tend to work. So if you look at Tumblr, for example, now here's a really good example of this. Tumblr a few months ago enacted or came out and said, we're banning porn on Tumblr. You won't be able to post pornographic images. You won't be able to do anything else like that on Tumblr. Even if, you have put up there that you are, for example, a NSFW site, like you're not safe for work
You need
site.
to be a certain age.
You need to be a certain age in order to view this Tumblr. All of that sort of stuff. Tumblr was like, nope, we're gonna,
Our advertisers aren't happy.
Advertisers aren't. We're gonna say that we are completely blocking and removing any suggestion of pornography on Tumblr. This met with quite an outcry from the Tumblr community, because obviously there was, I've read about this. I don't know about this firsthand. There was a bit of a backlash from the Tumblr community about, because obviously there were people that used it for that particular purpose or whatever else like that, and they were like, look, we're engaging in legal like activities. We're not doing anything that is illegal. Tumblr's user base dropped by, I think it was a third when they enacted this ban. So they essentially lost a third of their users on Tumblr. The issue with it is, however, that it actually hasn't changed that much on Tumblr. There are hard things to do, like, for example, you can't search for NSFW sites or anything else like that, like through the search function, but the content and stuff like that is still there. So how effective that has been...
Yeah, probably not very. If you're already following...
It's a good PR thing to say. Yeah. Like, it's a good PR thing to turn around and go, we've blocked... Yeah. Like,
they're catering to investors and advertisers, and that's what it comes down to.
But it's the same thing. And I come back to, like, looking at enacting laws like this, where they're like, no, we're going to stop live streaming. We're going to, stop all of that sort of stuff. It's to protect that image. We're doing something. We're a government that's doing something about this really complex problem.
Yeah,
That's like,
on that note, and it's just something I want to talk about. So you always need to be dubious when a government's enacting something. Whenever these censorship laws have come in, they've come in at a point where a population's mindset is elsewhere.
Yeah,
it's a bait and switch. Patriot Act, as you mentioned earlier, came in after 9/11.
Yeah. It's to keep you safe. We're keeping you safe. This is what it is. This is the watchword. Yeah. We're keeping you safe from all of this. Let us take away these civil liberties, because if you take away these civil liberties, we can keep you safe. We will keep. If you've got nothing to hide and you're not doing anything wrong, it's not going to affect you. We'll be keeping you safer. Sorry.
And I mean, and that's it. And I think the government wants to control the flow of information, because if a government can control the flow of information, they can control the narrative. Look at countries like China. Now, think of the countries that have censorship on the internet. China's a really big one, and in fact, major corporations like Apple have actually bent to them. They've actually changed things. Like, for example, Apple have changed their phones, the iPhone, over in China to meet China's laws, so that their internet can be filtered and things like that, which actually goes against Apple's ethos. But money talks, bullshit walks. Countries, look, just on the whole, you have nothing to hide argument.
Yep.
An area of the world where internet censorship is most prevalent is the Middle East. Countries like Saudi Arabia. Think back to the Arab Spring. So whenever you think that you have nothing to hide, just remember, and I'm not, these scenarios are worth remembering, and it's very dangerous to say, well, that would never happen in our corner of the woods. Because you have to remember, in places like Egypt during the Arab Spring, the government accessed the information that was transferring between people, most notably BlackBerries were hacked, and emails. So when protests were organised between people during the Arab Spring, the government would then intercept those emails, and they would shut down the people organising the protests. They would actually raid their homes, based on the knowledge that they had through organizing things online. So you cannot assume that a government, and I'm not saying we're going to have a totalitarian government here in New Zealand. However, these tools can be used for those purposes, and we have to always be dubious of these claims and the fear-mongering that can happen.
It has to be safe for you to dissent.
Yes.
It has to be safe for you to say, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with what you're doing. And it has to be safe for you to do that.
It's a human right.
I'm always very dubious about these kinds of censorship laws. I also look at, there are a huge amount of ways in which live streaming is used very positively. And lots of people that I know, I get notifications on Facebook from people that I'm friends with who are live streaming whatever, and it can be whatever. It can be stuff that they're doing. It can be stuff that they've put together, like artistic projects that they put together that they really want people to see. It can be like even in our realm, like in terms of amateur theatre and stuff like that, it can quite often be used as advertising, in rehearsals and stuff like that, live streaming.
I sat for hours watching Frank Ocean live stream him building a staircase in a build-up to his album Endless being released.
Yeah. Like, so there are lots of positive ways in which this can be used.
Yeah.
And I think to a certain extent too that, the difficulty that you have with technology is that technology has, or the abilities of technology has increased exponentially faster than our ability to understand it and control it.
Yeah.
So things like, I talk to my kids about this relatively frequently. Things like cell phone use. Now we have no idea of what long-term cell phone use does to people. No idea. No idea. And yet we still give kids phones. We have no idea how to control or reasonably censor, because I'm not saying things shouldn't be censored. Don't get me wrong. Like, I do agree that, countries quite often do very good jobs of censoring stuff. Like, so, like, for example, people who have to watch horrific things, if you work for the censorship board, watch horrific things and go, no, God, people don't need to see that. Yeah. We're not allowing that in the country. Or here's a rating system. Because a rating system is censorship. It's a way in which the government or censorship turns around and goes, this is not suitable for anybody under 16, under 18.
Not all censorship's bad.
No. However, the sheer content, the sheer quantity of content that's put on the internet and that sort of stuff, as you said, makes it incredibly difficult to police and incredibly difficult to control and that sort of stuff. I think we need to be very careful that there's not a knee-jerk reaction to here's something that's happened, therefore we're banning everything. This is like saying, I mean, to use a reasonably trite equivalent, would be to sit there and go, we've had somebody in New Zealand has, died because they've eaten peanuts and they were allergic to peanuts. So therefore we're banning peanuts in New Zealand. Nobody can have peanuts. I don't think that's the right response either. I understand that to a certain extent, a realistic take on this isn't sexy for a government. It isn't a you can go out into
photo opportunity.
You can't go out into the media and go, look, it's an incredibly complex process. We're still coming to grips with how we go about this sort of stuff. That's not sexy. It's much sexier for a government to turn around and be like, no, we're banning all of this so nobody can do this, that, and the other again, and we'll keep you safe from this. This will never happen again. This will never happen again.
And before there's any confusion either, we are strictly talking about the internet here.
Absolutely.
I mean, we fully the banning of semi-automatics, for example, that makes sense.
Yep.
Because
why do you need one?
Why do you need one?
Yep.
Whereas the banning of information is a very complicated and different. Yeah.
Or the controlling of how we interact with each other.
Yeah.
So a lot of our lives have now moved into a digital space, and we interact with each other far more in a digital space than we do face to face, and that's a reality. I talk to you and producer Caroline more online than I probably do in person, and we meet regularly. I mean, we stream together, we do a podcast together, so we meet regularly, but still a lot of our interaction is carried out online. a lot of my interaction with lots of people is carried out online. So, for example, my partner who's been living in Auckland, pretty much all of our interaction is carried out online at the moment. So, the way we communicate is changing. The issue that I have is whenever, the government and things starts to step into looking at things like, actually, we're going to monitor and control the way you communicate with each other. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous precedent. It's a dangerous thing to look down. The other thing that I find relatively bizarre about it is that they're specifically targeting Facebook and going, we're going to.
What about Periscope?
What about Periscope? What about Instagram? What about Twitch? What about Snapchat?
Yeah.
What about, we're going to target Facebook's live streaming because it happened to be.
It smells of looking like you're solving a problem when you're not. It's a political move, and look, it's not anti. You're not being you're not being anti your country or anti-nationalist. If you for 1 second go, look, I actually don't feel good about this. And the thing is, it is actually, we should be questioning our government.
All the time.
It's a citizen's job, really. I mean, not their job, but it's their obligation to
hold your government to account.
Absolutely.
You can't, the thing is, and again, as we said before, specifically targeting Facebook is not going to solve this problem.
No.
In any way, shape, or form.
It's a straw man. It's
It's a sacrificial lamb that we're going to put up there and go, oh, look, we did something about this, and aren't we good because we've kept you safer from the evils of the internet? And I have problems with it. I think is putting it mildly. Yeah. I think I have problems with it.
And then meanwhile, you still have hives of activity like cesspools, like the Donald on Reddit, and you have that still exist due to
4chan, 8chan,
exactly all these disgusting places on the internet where hate breeds. You have all these awful places, and yet you target. Yeah. Oh, Facebook. That's an easy target. Everyone already hates Facebook. We'll score some points here.
And I think the other thing is that it's very, I do want to make the distinction, and this is an interesting, and I think there is no easy answer to this argument, and there's no easy answer going forward, and it's a constant balancing act going forward. I do, however, agree that the government should prosecute hate speech. When what you're doing, so freedom of speech, yes. When your speech is hate speech, then there should be consequences for it. And like, for example, and the reason obviously this is so pertinent at the moment is Israel Folau's comments on online around the fact that gay people and all other sinners, are going to hell and all of that sort of stuff.
Thanks for that. Thanks for your insight. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. That's hate speech. That's not freedom of expression. That's hate speech. That's targeting a group of people and directing hate speech at them. And I think that and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. So I had this conversation with my kids earlier on in the week when this news story first broke. And we were talking about this, and we were talking about the idea that sometimes it seems to be that celebrities have more leeway than people who aren't. And one of my kids, and I thought it was a very mature response to this, turned around and said, I was saying, what do you think should happen? Like what do you think do you think this is appropriate? Do you think, should something happen? And he turned around and he said, he goes, realistically, they won't do anything. He's like, he's too valuable to them as a player. He's too, the World Cup's coming up. Yeah. They're not going to do anything. And I was like, I was a little bit saddened by the cynicism, but I was like, you know what? You're probably right.
You have a lot of reasons.
Because we see this over and over again, and we sort of inculcate this kind of idea. We have put forward this kind of idea that actually, it's wrong, and we all know it's wrong, but This is what's going to, and we should, we're just going to have to accept it that that's what's going to happen. And I have to say, I've been very pleasantly surprised by the reaction of the Australian Rugby Union and things like that, who have turned around and gone, actually, no, we're terminating his contract. We're terminating his contract, which I think is...
There's a caveat. They unless he can explain, which I think is an opportunity for him to fully hang himself.
But I also think that it'll be interesting because I think that the Australian Rugby Union have now put themselves in an awkward position.
Yeah.
Because they've come out and they've gone...
I think they know
because
what they're
they've
doing.
come out
I
and
think
gone,
they know what they're doing.
We've taken this stance and we've gone, this is not right, and we've taken this stance. If they're now seen to fold on that...
Yeah.
I
think they are pretty much saying balls in your court. Now, depending on your response, which probably won't be great. I think they know their next step, and I think it will be. My gut feeling is we're giving you the opportunity to shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Like, the onus is on you now to explain yourself.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, unless you renounce what you've said and apologise, which even if he does, I mean, he's been doing this. They know he's been doing this for a long time. This is the second time.
So I think the thing is, like, and look, it is hate speech. It is hate speech. I'm sorry.
Horrible.
Like, I'm not even going to come out and say, freedom of expression, whatever.
And don't you dare use religion as
just
an excuse, because I know
it's
plenty of religious people who don't go up to gay people and say you're going to burn in hell.
It's
nothing
not
to do with
freedom of
religion.
speech. It's not freedom of religion.
No.
It's
just
hate,
a horrible.
it's hate speech.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't think that sort of thing should be allowed. I don't think that sort of thing should be encouraged.
No.
And I don't think that sort of thing should be given platforms to disseminate. I don't.
No.
I don't think that sort of thing should be allowed. And there is, and never let anybody convince you any differently. There is a difference between things like hate speech and dissent.
Yeah.
Dissent, where you're turning around and going, I don't agree with what you're doing, and I think that what you're doing is wrong, where we're talking about something like a government, we're talking about, that sort of thing. Or even a person, when you're talking, you're saying, hey, look, you're doing this, and I don't think this is right. Like, I think that the decisions you are making are poor decisions, especially when those people are like people in government, for example, where, they're there to represent the people, that sort of stuff. When you are pulling at somebody for something that they are, for their sexuality, their race, their religion, their whatever, and you're going, no, you're awful.
Yeah.
That's hate speech. That's not constructive dissent. No. It's not in any way. It doesn't engage any way in a conversation with anything. No. It's just hate speech, and it doesn't belong. And no. I absolutely.
There's no room for it.
So I want to make that distinction
also,
very clear. We're not saying that
also
hate
his
speech
Instagram post was poorly formatted and looked pathetic. Do better next time. Yeah. I've seen the photo. I've seen I only saw it today actually because I heard about it. I didn't. But I saw the pathetic. It looked like it was done and published in '98. So
So I think, again, don't get us wrong. We're not sitting here going hate speech is a thing that should be allowed. We're not. No. We're not saying absolute slather on just say whatever you want about anybody. No. Freedom of expression or freedom of speech, that the freedom to dissent against your government, those kinds of things are enshrined. Or the freedom to dissent against your government is enshrined in your human rights, and you should be you should be able to do that, and you should be able to do that free from persecution. Yep. However, if your human rights also state that you have the right not to be discriminated against based on your race, religion, sex, anything else like that. So you can't impede on another person's human rights go, well, actually, it's my human right to. No, that's not how this works. All of those rights are interconnected and interdependent. You can't turn around and be like, oh, well, my human rights trump your human rights. No. Because that leads to a very, very poor place.
In conclusion, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Yeah. Good advice. Yeah, I like that advice. Don't be a dick.
So essentially, I think we've covered a lot of ground.
It's a
hugely
complex argument.
And do not let politicians lead you to believe that it isn't a complex issue, because it is. And they will try and simplify it, and they will try and conflate hate speech with freedom of information. They will try and conflate the two because they will try and complicate it even further to push it.
It's black and white. This is right. This is wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not.
and the other thing is the only thing I would say about that is question everything.
Absolutely.
Question everything. If people
Absolutely.
go, we're especially if somebody tells you it's to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Especially if not your parents. So don't go walking out in the middle of the night and doing silly things like that. And your parents go, it's not safe. That's legitimate. If your government is saying, we want to pass this law which will restrict some of your liberties, but it's to keep you safe, always question. Always question why. Always.
And question your media sources. And just to finish what's on top, because I want to get this out of the way, because it's I want to get the serious thing out of the way. Shout out to New Zealand Herald. Congratulations, you've once again made our shit list this week. You never got back to us about
they didn't get back to us.
But what you did do this week was well done. You posted in your newspaper, in print, in ink, a transphobic cartoon in your newspaper this week. Blatantly transphobic. Well done. Oh. I'm not going to link that below.
No, because we won't. If you want
to find it, go on Twitter, because a lot of people talk about it. It's disgusting. Well done. Are you looking to sell? No, really. Are you looking for like Rupert Murdoch to buy you guys out? Because the kind of stuff that you guys are posting at the moment is pretty much aimed at Rupert Murdoch's sort of crowd, I guess. You want to go join the hallowed ranks of Fox News and
don't even get me started.
News of the World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
So, disappointing. Very disappointed.
Disappointing.
Although, unfortunately, NZ Herald, not surprised. So, keep doing you.
Okay, moving right along into Uncanny Valley, because I think we've covered off
a lot of ground.
So much stuff there, and we may end up deep diving into some of that sort of stuff later on. We've actually just had to turn the heater on here in Esoterica HQ because it's very, very cold in here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you might see breath coming out soon. I'm shivering away. Okay, so moving into Uncanny Valley, and I have an article here. It's just a short wee article because, bizarrely, weirdly, not that much weird or bizarre news this week. Which is sort of strange.
Well done, Florida.
Yeah. Actually, do you know what? You know, with you taking the piss out of Florida, I'm actually sitting there going, there was actually an article that I did consider bringing along that was the top 10 Florida things of 2019 so far. But I thought we won't single out Florida. We'll do this. So I have one short article here that I just thought was a little bit funny. So a new study. This is a legitimate study. A new study has come out that says if you hold in your farts, they could come out your mouth. Okay. I certainly know plenty of people who fart out their mouth. Yeah. We've all been in a situation where letting a fart loose would be less than ideal. But according to a new study, it's going to come out one way or another. Or to be more precise, out one hole or another. According to diet nutrition expert Professor Claire Collins from the University of Newcastle, holding in a fart causes abdominal distension, which causes some of that gas to be absorbed and exhaled through your breath. So not farting means some gas will be reabsorbed into the circulation and exhaled on your breath.
How much, though?
I don't know. Maybe
is it one of those things where it's...
Do you reckon that means that people who have like halitosis and things like that and really bad breath are just like they've been holding in farts? Like instead of dropping them as they go along, they're like they're just look, be loud and proud. Just go. It's a natural bodily function. Yeah, we all do it. If it's gonna be a ripper, excuse yourself and go and do it somewhere else. So not everybody else has to participate in it. But apparently there you go. It'll come out your mouth if you.
And that's just the podcast.
Yeah. So that was my one article this week. Nice. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I was thinking about this a little bit, and I think it sort of fits slightly into Uncanny Valley. I wanted to talk a little bit about getting a bit older.
Oh, okay.
And I'm getting a bit older, and I'm starting to become an old man. And I know we all listen to this podcast and go, just an old man yelling at clouds anyway. But like, I'm starting to become an old man, and it's funny because there was a situation. I won't say what the situation was, but there was a situation that came up earlier on this week, and we were talking about crashing at somebody's place.
Oh, yeah.
Crashing at somebody's house, like a friend of a friend kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like we'll go to their place and we'll crash and that sort of stuff. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm too old.
Do it.
I'm too old.
Because we used to do that, after a party, you would just crash out wherever you could find a space.
Yeah. Or you'd be like,
I have memories of little tiny, like, using a rug as a blanket.
Yeah. Or being like, and that was fine, and that was cool.
Yeah,
or like being like, how can I make this trip as cheap as possible? Like, how can I, I'll drive somewhere and then we'll crash with friends or whatever and, like, sleep on a couch or, once you get a bit older, sleep in a guest room or whatever else like that. And I actually just got to the point where I'm like, no, I'm done.
Can't do it. Yeah.
I can't do it. And there's a number of reasons I can't do it, right? Part of it is, or I think the main thing is, I like my own space. Yeah. I like my own space, and I like to be able to go and unwind. And anytime you end up staying at, like, somebody else's house or whatever else like that, you feel an obligation to kind of interact with them. like you feel an obligation. You go and do whatever it is that you're going to do, and then you come home from whatever it is that you're going to do, and, you just want to go to bed. You just want to, like, chill, watch some TV, I don't know, have a bath, go to sleep. And you... Have a bath. You feel
You just
I miss having a bath. I don't have a bath in my current flat.
Just go and have a bath.
I love a bath.
When you're over at their place, just
go and have a bath at their place.
Please? Halfway through the film you're watching,
I'm literally going to use your bathroom to have a bath. But you feel obligated to then sit down and have a conversation and and I've just got to the point in my life where I'm like, no, and unless we're really tight, and unless it's something like I haven't seen you in ages and we're going to catch up and I'm really tight with you and we're really good friends and I feel like I can relax around you, I'm just like, no, and I could literally count on one hand the amount of people that I'd be comfortable doing that with. I just sit there and go, no. And bizarrely, it's like this weird kind of poverty mentality thing that we get into, right? Like, where you're like, I'm wasting money. And I'm like, I earn okay money. I can go and stay in a hotel. Like, a hotel is not that expensive.
Yeah.
I can have my bath. I can watch some TV. Yeah. I don't have to have conversations with the people who run the hotel. Like, no. I can come and go as I please. The thing for me with that situation?
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can all relate to this, right? So you go to sleep, and say in this scenario you're sleeping in the lounge. Quite often you're sleeping in the lounge, on a couch or whatever, and that's fine. But
fold-out bed, which nobody ever sleeps on. It's the most uncomfortable frickin' thing you've ever slept on. Yeah.
So you wake up and you have that sort of like panic moment where you're like, where am I? What is this? These walls. I don't recognise, But then you go, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I was staying at Cassandra's house last night.
Yeah.
And then you come to. But then the next thing is, when do I need to get up? So there's that whole getting up moment. Because sometimes, your friend may have work in the morning, so you're lying on the couch and you're getting around, getting ready for work, and you're sort of like, do I get up? And you feel you automatically are sort of at this point where you...
And you're also awkwardly...
Your social awkwardness
like, I kind of have to... Yeah. Like, you're leaving, so I've kind of got to leave...
Yeah,
like,
I've got to
with you or before you, because otherwise it's just going to be weird if I'm floating around your house and then I have to lock up your house. And
all these things are buzzing through you, and you've barely had enough time to come to terms with the fact that you have to live through another day. And you have to make all these... And, and it's like, you've got to get up. You can't... The little things that you do in the morning, usually at home, you take for granted, and you're up and you're like, okay, this is it now. And there's the awkwardness of, oh, do you want some breakfast? Like, help yourself.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, but I don't really want to.
Yeah, and you're awkward. You feel like you're awkwardly inconveniencing people
You
too.
are.
And
even though you totally
no,
are.
you totally. Because if somebody came and stayed with me,
yeah,
and they were like, I'm going to come stay with you, I wouldn't be like, that's an inconvenience. I'd be like, yeah, no, sure,
That's
like,
totally
go nuts.
cool.
And I'd be that person going, like, help yourself to whatever. Just, I'm going to work. Just like lock the door. Or whatever. Like,
please feel comfortable.
Yeah, just go nuts. And but
gripping these tightly.
You do. You feel like you're like weirdly inconveniencing them, and you're sort of like, and so the whole time you're kind of weirdly like on your best behavior and kind of being like,
you're in limbo.
I hate it. I hate it. Like if I'm gonna go away and I'm gonna go and do something, or I'm gonna go and stay something, and I'm gonna go like have a holiday or whatever. I want to have a holiday. I want to get away and just be like, that's fine. Like, let's catch up for a drink or, coffee or whatever. Let's go and do something. That's cool. And then I'm going to go back to my hotel room.
Yeah.
and I'm just going to chill, and I don't have to, like, pretend to be nice. I don't have to, like, force conversation. I don't have to, or kind of be like, oh, God, like, I hope it wasn't too loud when I flushed the toilet.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the night. Like,
oh, yes,
like,
you get that. And
do I flush? Do I not flush? Because it's like, am I going to wake people up?
When you're doing that, whenever you flush the toilet, whenever everyone, it's always way louder.
Yeah.
Like you get that thing where it's, oh God, it's so loud. It's like going to wake people up, and you get that anxiety about how much.
And then you go,
you're
no,
creating.
and then I'll take it to a whole nother level, right? And then you go to places where people have like toilets and stuff that's like busted and crap, like, and like, in order to like flush it or whatever, you've got to, hold your tongue out the side of your mouth and, rotate counterclockwise 3 times before pulling the handle.
Like,
otherwise it won't flush.
The toilet was like designed by the creators of Mist.
Yeah. And you're sort of sitting there going, and then you can never get it right, and then you're worried about breaking it, and like, or like, I just can't be doing with it. I'm just such an old grumpy man that I'm like, no, just, I love you dearly. I have no desire to stay with you. I'm gonna go and stay in a hotel.
Do you want to know my old thing that I've had?
Yeah.
So I no longer can drink the night before and be okay the next day.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I hear you.
But also, if I have training or some sort of sport the day before, I'm really gonna feel like the next day.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm, at work, I'll go to get off my chair and go, or going up the stairs to the tea room, I'm sort of, feeling a bit sore today. And
I found this like whenever I was doing the show, right? Whenever I was doing the show, and the last couple of shows I've done, I've thrown myself around and you have a habit of that. Doing all that very physical stuff and that sort of stuff. And it used to be that I would do stuff like that and it'd be fine and you'd bruise yourself or you whatever. But the next day you'd be all right. You'd be a bit sore, but you'd be like, okay, and then you're fine and you're back into it. I'm still sore a week later. Yeah. Like I'm still like, oh God, I wonder how long that's gonna take to go away. Like getting old sucks. It sucks. But I get the drinking thing. Like God, I remember whenever I was young and you could drink all night and then go to work the next day and be fine and like, all of that sort of stuff.
Can't do
that. And now I'm like,
just can't
or like even times when you'd be up to like, at parties and things like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I now sit there and I'm like, it's 2 o'clock, I'm done. Yeah. Like I need to go to bed.
Same.
And then the next day I'm like so tired and I'm like, like I just no stamina anymore.
Just and I can't get the things done that I need to do. No. I'm like, oh no, I need a quiet space where
Or you get like you get to a point where being at home is just actually really appealing. Like and you're like, you should be like you get massive FOMO and you'd be like, oh no, I can't leave like cuz all of this exciting stuff is happening and blah 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 blah. And then after a while like you go somewhere or whatever and you're like, I just actually can't wait to go home and go to bed. Yeah. And just like actually get into bed and just be in my own bed and in my own house. Yeah. And the same thing, like there's this really bizarre switch point from, and I don't know when it happened, but there's this really bizarre switch point that you go through where, I used to hate it whenever I was 18, 19, 20, 21, that sort of stuff, where I didn't have something to do on a Friday, Saturday night, and you were like, you
Yeah.
were sitting there going,
Yeah.
oh, what am I going to do this weekend? Like, I've got nothing to do. I'm not going out and seeing people. Now I love it when I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, whenever I'm like, oh, what am I doing Fridays? I'm doing nothing. Oh, thank God. Like, you know, and the other way around, you're kind of like, and even now, like, I find myself being like going out for drinks with people and stuff like that. And I enjoy going out for drinks with people, and I enjoy talking to people. And
Once you're there, it's great.
Once you're there,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. You have a great time. However, it's the whole build up to that where you're like, oh, God, I've got to go out tonight. And I keep sitting there saying to myself, you're literally going to go out and hang out with friends.
Yeah.
And
It's going to be great.
Have a drink.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, like, having to do anything. Like,
No.
you're
Yeah.
just going out for a drink. But you still have that whole thing of, oh, that's right, I'm going out on Friday. Like, you know, oh, I've got that thing. Yeah, you know, and I don't know when that switch happened.
I don't know either.
All of a sudden, I'm like, you know, yes, I've
It
got nothing
happened
to do.
very suddenly.
Oh, I know. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Getting old.
I mean, look at producer Caroline.
You
She's
should
wearing
see,
a full-on
you can't see.
dressing gown.
Yeah, you can't see producer Caroline, but she is literally rugged up to the nines in here. Just waiting for us to stop talking rubbish so she can be like, go away, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, I've got the podcast to do.
Oh, yeah, I've got to edit that.
All right, let's move on to
all right.
30-second waffle, eh?
30-second waffle.
And you went first last week,
Oh,
so it's my turn.
excellent.
I've just become obviously the person that has to remember who went first.
You
last
do?
week.
Yeah, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
I never remember.
I had to think about it for a while. Okay, this is a Discord question from Sim Breezy.
This will be good.
I don't know. This might be painful. Explain the science behind drinking your own urine.
Pretty self-explanatory. Explain it.
I don't know that I'm an authority on drinking your own urine.
Well, you are now.
Drinking your own urine, as far as I'm aware, is reported to be good for you because whenever your body processes a number of things, like, so let's say you take vitamins and things like that, what happens is that your body actually doesn't take them all in. It doesn't absorb it. It turns it into waste product and just dumps it. So if you drink your own urine, what you're actually doing is you're actually putting that back in and giving your body a second chance to reabsorb all those vital nutrients.
Nice. That was pretty good. I mean, bullshit, but pretty good.
It's kind of true. Vitamins, to be fair, give you very expensive pee, and that's about it. Like, your body
Just
really
shoveling it.
struggles to absorb
To actually
things
process,
from, like, pills. Like, hence the reason whenever you take vitamin C, for example, you take it in such high doses of vitamin C
it's a big
to
pill.
try and actually absorb some of it. So, I mean, I suppose there's something to drinking your own urine in terms of giving yourself a second chance to take that sort of stuff in. But, God, why would you want to?
No.
Just
No.
why?
No. Yeah.
Like, you know, I
It
don't
dehydrates.
get it.
There's a reason why they tell you not to drink it if you're stranded on a...
Look, honestly, I think that given the option, you know, if you can drink things other than your own urine, I think probably a good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's one of those in extremis things that,
Yeah.
like, you know, maybe you would do.
This is a Discord question from O Muffins.
Oh.
Sorry, what? Everyone should immediately pack their bags and move to Uzbekistan.
Okay. Okay. Uzbekistan. All right.
Everyone should immediately pack their bags and move to the communist state of Uzbekistan. As you all know, Uzbekistan is located just below Russia. It's actually wedged below Russia and I think China. And it's got a very cold climate, which is wonderful because it's getting too hot around here. And there's a lot of freedom in Uzbekistan, and they need more people to liven it up, I feel. Uzbekistan needs more people, and they've got a lot of freedom and a lot of oppression going on that needs to be experienced.
There you go.
That was...
That's well done on your geography. I'm like, good God.
Yeah, that's...
I love
Uzbekistan.
This is 30-second waffle brought to you by Anthony, who's now sponsored by the tourist board of
They need to hire me.
Uzbekistan.
Go there because you've got freedom. I don't know that. Well, I think you do to a point.
I have to say, I know.
Need more people to liven it up.
Need more people to liven it up. Yeah, I have
I
to
think
say,
they've got big uranium deposits.
yeah, I have to say, I know relatively little about Uzbekistan.
No, you and I both. Yeah.
I'm not. It's not a country I am sort of intimately familiar with.
Neither.
All right, let's grab another one.
Just part of the old.
Let's see
Soviet
how we
Union.
going. Yeah. All of those Istans.
Yeah.
All right, this is a Discord question from Esoterica is great. Oh, okay. Why everyone should climb Everest?
Oh, okay. These are quite interesting. This way, they're different.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone should climb Mount Everest because it literally is a once-in-a-lifetime bucket list kind of thing to do. Everest, I think, requires not only physical strength but mental fortitude to actually go through the trials and tribulations of getting to the top. And I think that it would be a huge growth experience for everybody to get to the top of it and go, I did that. I achieved that.
Nice. Nice. And I actually agree with that. That would be a phenomenal, can you imagine the I hate to say character builder because it's something that's often used to.
Well, it's thrown around, but in that case, you kind of go, you would walk away going, I did that.
I can do anything.
I've done something, kind of truly amazing.
The confidence it would give you.
Yeah,
would be huge.
I overcame the physical trial of it, the mental trial of it. I went and I did something that is dangerous, that's incredibly difficult, and come out and go, no, I did that. That's cool. I've been to the highest point on this globe. That would be really cool. I reckon that'd be really cool. I'm not confident, in my abilities. It'd be something I'd love to do, though. It'd be something I'd love to go and experience.
And this must be from James.
Ooh.
Okay, here we go.
It is. It's one from me. Can you read my writing?
I can, and I'm angry already.
Oh, I'd forgotten about this one.
Multiplayer functionality is more important than single-player narrative in gaming.
Oh, I'd forgotten writing that one. That's a good one, if I do say so myself.
Multiplayer functionality is more important than single-player gaming because it brings the entire world together. So, single-player gaming is very isolationist, and yes, you can tell a good narrative. However, what better narrative can you have than being surrounded by those that you know and communicate with, that literally design stories around you, human stories, that actually are completely unique, absolutely unique, and that cannot be replicated in a single player game that is pre-written.
Even when that narrative includes your mum's a hoe screamed at you by a 13-year-old kid.
I hate everything about that question because it's wrong. It is wrong. It goes against everything I stand
I know. I knew you would enjoy that.
Yeah.
I knew you would enjoy that, and I thought I would get that in there before you could ask me the same question. Because I know we're both very, very big fans of single-player narrative-driven games.
Yeah.
And a little bit distraught at the seeming precedence or upsurge in multiplayer gaming. Because I actually don't want to... it's a little bit like, as I said, in the Uncanny Valley section, I actually don't want to hang out with other people quite often whenever I'm playing a game.
It's an escape.
I want a tightly scripted story. I want something that makes me go, oh my God. If I think back to my best moments in gaming, moments that stick out for me in gaming, none of them are multiplayer experiences. So if I look back, my best moments in gaming are things like experiencing the new God of War. Amazing. The twist in BioShock, when you do that for the first time, just going, oh my God, that's phenomenal. The tightly scripted stuff and social commentary in Wolfenstein, Wolfenstein 2. You know, all of my best moments in gaming, and KOTOR, like, you know, the twist in that, you know, the humor in Monkey Island, those are all standout gaming moments for me. They're things that the script, the depth of the story and stuff, like the Legacy of Kain series, like Final Fantasy, you know, the twists in the story and the emotional connection you get with the characters. That's what I think of when I think of gaming, and why I like gaming, and what I love about gaming.
Are we out of touch?
No. No, I really don't think we are.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
You look at the
there's
sales
room for both.
No,
I
but
think
you
there's
look at the
room for
sales of things like Spider-Man and
And
God of War,
yeah.
and that Red Dead. You look at you know, the sales of those kinds of things, which show that there is a real hunger out there for really well told stories. The difficulty, I think, with it is that it can be difficult. It's difficult to write a really good story and to make a really engaging story and to pace it out in a way that the player feels engaged.
You've got to pay writers and
but also the pacing, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you've got to be, like, and something that, for example, God of War did really well. Like, you know, the pacing of the story was really good. You felt like you could go around and explore stuff and do bits and pieces, but you always felt like you were involved in the story. And that's difficult to do. It's not an easy thing to do, or, you know, to create atmosphere that, you know, like they did in BioShock or that sort of stuff. That's hard. That's really hard to do. It's easier to just throw mechanics together and go, off you go.
Just sandbox it.
Well, off you go, make of it what you will. Like, you know, like, this does that much damage, this is what
You
this
create,
character does, you
Yeah.
just go out there and do it. And I think I think if we were wrong and we were alone, Fallout 76 would have been much bigger than it was.
Yeah.
You know, like, and people went to Fallout 76 going, this is going to be amazing. And it tanked. And it's tanked because, there's no narrative. There's no, like,
There's
the
no
thing that
reason
there's
to-
no reason to be there.
Yeah. It's no catalyst,
And so, you know, and even if you look at multiplayer games, if you look at stuff like Fortnite, you look at whatever, they're self-perpetuating. The reason to be there is to give you reasons to stay there. So you're like, you know, I've got to grind to get this. I've got to, you know, I've got to do this to get
And
that.
they're very mundane.
I've got, you know, and all you're literally doing is grinding for more reasons to be in the game. Like, at least World of Warcraft kind of has a story. It has quest lines that you can go along and do that sort of stuff. So you can kind of be like, okay, it's at least loosely got a story. But, like, you know, other big multiplayer where they're just like, here's a multiplayer game, go and play. No. I mean, I am heartened by the fact that, I mean, it did look at one stage like the single-player gaming experience was done. Like, you know, when basically everybody was releasing multiplayer shooters that had, you know, 2 to 3 hour storyline tacked in there just for a nod to single-player gaming, but, like, really the core focus of the game was multiplayer. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be matched with people I don't know. I don't want to listen to children scream at me at the other end. I don't want to be called every foul name under the sun. I don't want to, you know, be playing where, you know, other players put so much pressure on you to play the game the way they want you to play it.
It's all dictated by disconnected people in boardrooms who have looked at statistics and gone, this game did really well in its multiplayer, therefore we all need to be multiplayer, not realizing that there's actually there's a demographic for everyone, and you can't put all your eggs in one basket. There's a place for multiplayer games,
but it's the subscription loot box model, isn't it?
microtransactions.
It's the microtransaction
It makes
model.
money,
And they sit there
Yeah.
and go, like, instead of, we can charge you once off for a game, and then if you're playing multiplayer and you're keeping coming back to multiplayer, we can charge you a subscription to do that, or we can get you to purchase loot boxes.
It's gambling.
It is gambling.
Loot boxes are gambling, and it should be illegal.
But even when they're not gambling, even when it's like, you know what you're going to get for the money that you put, the real world money that you put in, it's literally just so you can go and do more multiplayer gaming. Like, it's just a way of them milking the cash cow rather than producing moments, you know, or you know, art. And I do think of games as art, and you know, the stories that they tell. I mean, there are some beautiful games out there. there are some phenomenally scripted games out there. So yeah, I knew you'd hate that question, and I thought I'd ask you that question before you asked me
So
that
if you
question.
guys thought that we were old before, you definitely know that we're old souls now. So in conclusion, it's like I'm finishing a high school essay. In conclusion,
Yes.
so thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in this week.
Yeah.
It's been quite a varied episode. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I've really enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed
actually.
this
I've
episode,
enjoyed
yeah.
it. Thank you so much.
Hopefully you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, hopefully you have too. And if you did, well, you can get more of that if you follow our social networking and the links below.
Yes. Pop onto the Discord and come say hello to us there.
Absolutely.
Come and join us for a live stream on Sunday nights, Wednesday nights at 7:30. Live streams are awesome because, obviously you get to chat to us live, and, we have a cool little community going there. So
Definitely.
come along and see some of the live streams. We enjoy it.
There's
and
some screams
we
in
enjoy
the
it. There's some
streams.
screams in the streams. I think latest one will have been Alien Isolation, I think,
Yes,
which
yes.
we'll have done. You'll get this on Monday, so you will have done that on Sunday. And come and say hello.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe,
Etc.
rate, do whatever you're on whatever platform you're on, because that really helps us out.
And last but not least, happy 100th birthday to Bauhaus.
Yeah,
Bauhaus Graphic Design,
there you go.
which was born in 1999 in Germany at the Bauhaus School of Design.
It was born in 1999, and it's its 100th birthday.
1999, same year that Spice Girls broke. Sorry, 1919.
Yes,
My
that
brain
would make
had a
more
moment
sense.
there.
Yes, I was like 1999. It's not 100 years.
1919 and existed in Germany until 1933 when the Nazis pushed them out. But since then, a lot of design and utilities, I should say, rather, have been influenced to this day. So happy
There you go.
100 years to Bauhaus.
Awesome. Right, thank you very much, Esoterics. We will see you later.
Catch you later.